that has to take place here within the state of Alabama for certification. I think historically, if you look back at what happened when Senator Brown won in Massachusetts, I think Senator Reid held the Affordable Care Act vote, if I remember correctly. But there's a combination of things. There's a lot of moving pieces that involve the certification of this election, the recesses of the Senate and how they're going to go as we're approaching the holidays. So I think we'll let that play out a little bit and see. I think that both Senator McConnell and Senator Schumer are going to end up doing the right thing. I spoke to both of them today. They want to work with me and my transition team on committee assignments and those kind of things. So we'll see how it goes, and I'll go with it either way. I want to get involved as soon as I can, obviously. Yes, sir.
The state will not automatically change overnight from a very conservative state to a Democratic just because you won a victory last night. Will your decisions in Washington reflect the ideology of your state?
I think they will. I mean, that's why I ran. I think that's why I won, because I think I'm a lot more center of the road political figure, public figure. I think people are looking for somebody that can find that common ground, somebody that will listen to them. I think people forget oftentimes that, citizens are not always looking for someone who agrees with them all of the time. They want somebody to just listen to them and talk to them and learn from them. And I think we demonstrated that we would do that during the campaign. I think my history has been that I'm going to do that as a United States Senator. And I think that's the most important part of this. So I'm going to be that voice for the people of Alabama to try to do what I believe is right for them, and we'll just see how that plays out in the politics of things. But I think more importantly, people have been looking for someone that they can talk to, someone that they feel like can best represent them and their interest. And if you can't always find that common ground, you can maybe just move on and agree to disagree. But don't be disagreeable, and let's find common ground on the next one. Yes, sir? No, it was a very gracious call. I very much appreciated it. He congratulated me on the race that we won. He congratulated me and my staff on the way and the manner in which we handled this campaign and went forward. And we talked about finding that common ground to work together. And he invited me over to the White House to visit as soon as I get up there. So it's a very nice phone call, very pleasant phone call, and I appreciated him very much reaching out to me. Let's go on this side. Anybody over here? Okay. Speak up. Y'all got to speak up now. I didn't mean to throw too much cold water on all you guys.
What would you say to moderate Alabama voters that may have voted for you but don't necessarily agree with you on your position on some of the issues?
Well, I say exactly what I said just a moment ago. You're not going to agree with me. I mean, even as some that in the Democratic Party that voted for me and have been very enthusiastic about this campaign is not going to agree with me on every issue. I think the key is trying to find that common ground. I know that I'm just sounding like that broken record to talk about that, but I just think it is so important that we try to sit down at a table and talk about issues and talk about the things that matter in a big picture. And then we can find and hone down on what it will take to get that agenda accomplished. And so for those folks and even those that may be even more conservative than that, let's just talk. I believed, and I've said it over and over, that the people of this state have more in common than they have to divide us. I want to try to find those issues more and more that we can find common ground on, and let's just agree to disagree on those issues that are so divisive that it's hard to even talk to people about. Yes, ma'am?
In recent years, for the state Democratic Party, they had difficulty building candidates and providing infrastructure for those candidates. Was that a hurdle that you had to overcome, and how important was national Democratic support for your campaign?
Well, I mean, obviously there has been some concern locally. We knew that going into this race, and we built this campaign from the ground up. Our state party provided whatever support they could, but we knew that we had to reach out to our own, Democratic leaders in the counties and the cities, and we had to find others, independents, folks that had not been engaged in the political process as much. To try to build that. So I think we built that up. I think it's going to be a lot better going forward for folks. The National Democratic Party was very helpful to us. They provided the support that we needed. That they were always there to give us advice. We wanted to make sure that this race remained local. We wanted to make sure, and we didn't just push them away. We didn't do any of that, but we wanted to make sure we were fortunate enough that we raised enough money that we could keep this race local. But I can't say enough for what they did in terms of the support, the help, the advice. This was not their first rodeo in an election, but they also knew that they needed to be careful, because we had a message, and they didn't want to interfere. And I think that's the thing that I will compliment DNC Chair Tom Perez the most about, is that he knew that we had a message, that it was a message that was consistent with the party, but it was also a message that he felt like, and we felt like, would be consistent with the folks in the state of Alabama. And that's what it was. And so we stayed true to that message through the primary and into the general election. And I think that's the one thing that I've told my staff and my campaign officials that I am the most proudest of. We didn't have to alter. We didn't move. We were true to ourselves. And I think that was a very important piece of winning this election. People in Alabama do not like to see folks that flip-flop and do things. They want to see somebody who stays true to it themselves, because that's somebody they know that they can talk to, reason with, and discuss with. Yes, sir, way in the back. You. Yes, you.
So one big factor in your win was the minority vote, which, on the national stage, a lot of people have sort of criticized your campaign's outreach to them. What do you think brought the minority vote out for you?
Well, let me say, first of all, I didn't read all you folks in the national media with that criticism, because I knew you were wrong. I mean, just flat out, I knew you were wrong. I knew what we were doing. I knew that we had boots on the ground. I mean, this campaign, the volunteers that we had in this campaign was extraordinary. They were not like any other campaign that the state has ever seen. We knocked on 300,000 doors. We rang 1.2 million phones across this state. We knew what we were doing. We knew the importance of minority votes, and we reached out. So, and I think they responded. But I also believe this. I think we had a lot of support from the leadership in the African American community. Those leaders knew me. I've been around for a while. I mean, look, I may look young and pretty, but I'm really not. I've been around for a long time, and those leaders knew me, and they knew my background, and they knew that they would have a partner in the United States Senate, and they felt like they haven't had one in a while, except for Congresswoman Terry Sewell, who was also instrumental in making sure that turned out. So I had a lot of support from those folks who spent a lot of time and a lot of effort trying to get folks out to vote. And everything that's happened in this state, in this country, people, I think, across the country are now realizing, look, elections have serious consequences. And when you realize that, you tend to turn out the vote. So, yes, sir?
Could you talk a little bit more about the infrastructure in the Democratic Party here in the state, the future of it, what you do about that?
Well, I don't know what the future is going to hold. We'll just see. I mean, we're going to have, obviously, some discussions. I think some of that will take care of itself in the coming months, because we've got statewide elections that will come up next year. They'll be qualifying for that. The one thing that I think is going to happen for sure is that this campaign has given a lot of people a reason to believe. They have a reason to hope, that they know that even though things might be a long shot, it's possible. And they'll know, too, that you can create a lot of momentum. You can create things in a positive way if you run the right campaign, even if that campaign might not have succeeded. And there was a time last night that I was convinced we wouldn't. But I was prepared to talk about the fact, that this was not the end. It was the beginning, as Coach Saban once said famously. And so I think that going forward, what I'm hoping you will see in both parties is competitive races. This state is going to be progressed as far as we can, because beginning with this election, I believe we're on the road to having a competitive two-party state without one-party domination. And I think that helps every state. If you look around this country, And that's what I want to see. I want to see that with the Democrats. I want to see that with the Republicans. It doesn't help anybody to see one. It doesn't help a state. It doesn't help a country to see one major political party at civil war with itself. So I think this election can send a message to a lot of folks to reach out and do some things to try to help. So I'm looking forward to that in 2018 for our general elections on both sides of that aisle. Yes, sir. I think it's a combination. Look, in every election, there is a segment of the voters who vote for you. And I think from what I saw on some of the exit pollings last night, there was an overwhelming number of people who felt very positive. And the number one reason for the vote for me was how they felt about our campaign and the issues that we ran on. But look, there is also that segment of this population who voted against Roy Moore. I understand that. I get that. But you know what? That's not a bad thing. When that kind of politics for a segment of the population in Alabama to help reject that kind of history and that divisive rhetoric, I think that's a good thing. Yes, sir?
Another group of men helped your victory, those women who came forward. What would you have to say to those women?
Well, I've said before, it's not just those women. There's a lot of women around this country that are coming forward. I think we have reached that tipping point in this country in which women need to stand up and speak out. I think we have to be very careful in all of those and how we approach those issues. I said at the very beginning when the issues involving Roy Moore surfaced that we need to let the dust settle a little bit and not take sides immediately. But certainly I think that was, I commend them for coming forward. I have said before, I believe them. I think they have all the credibility in the world. And I think that as going forward, this country has a debt that we owe to women everywhere who has had to endure the kind of treatment at the hands of male counterparts in their workplace or customers or anyone else. And I think that we're hopefully getting to a point for my daughter and my two little granddaughters who stole the show last night at our victory speech, that is going to change. That is my hope for my children as well as all of the children for the state of Alabama.
Do you believe you would have won without that?
Well, I don't know if I would have or not. I think that I said from the very beginning, I think Roy Moore was disqualified from this job to begin with because he had been removed from office twice for violating the rule of law. There were serious questions about his moral foundation of law, which seemed to be nothing more than a way to enrich himself and his family. I think the last month of the election would have played out somewhat differently, obviously, but I think we would have still won. I think we would have I don't know if we'd have ever had a debate. What I really wanted to do, and where the people of Alabama lost out in this race, is actually having a debate. And seeing the issues, the substantive issues on health care and education and jobs. So we had to get out there. And as you guys in the press know, that's what we did. We continued to get out there while he went into hiding. So I think obviously that helped us. I believed all along that we had a path to victory in this race. I believed it this summer. And I certainly believed it as we were going forward because we were getting traction and momentum in our campaign before those allegations surfaced. All right, you've had one. Let's go. Anybody else over here before I go back? Yes, ma'am. Well, I think I've already achieved something like that. I think when in a special election like this, when a candidate wins a close race in what the eyes of the nation were, and you have both the leader of your own party as well as the opposition party, as well as the President of the United States, who is of a different party, call you to say we are looking forward to it. We're trying to, we want to try to do that work to find that common ground. I think that was the main thing. And I think so this election last night from the people of Alabama accomplished what I wanted to do for me. And that was because I think it's very important, and people across the country are getting that message. On a substantive basis, I said last night, and I hope that the CHIP funding will get done soon. I'd like to be a part of that. If it's not done very soon, I will try to reach out and do something like that immediately. there's a lot of work, I think, to be done in healthcare and other matters, the budgets. But, we'll take it a day at a time. 6 months ago, I was a lawyer trying to figure out where my next client was coming from. And now I've been learning all summer. I've got a lot more to learn, but I am so looking forward to getting into the weeds with these issues. Okay. All right. Y'all got it. Don't throw things at me, but okay, I'll go back to you.
I just wanted to get your thoughts on what Cory Carter said last night. He said he hopes you do the right thing and vote for Republicans.
Well, I would expect a Republican to say that. I expect the Democrats to say, I hope he does the right thing and vote for Democrats. But the people of Alabama expect me to do the right thing and vote for the people of Alabama. And so we're going to see. We're going to take every issue one step at a time. I want to sit down with folks on both sides of the aisle, on both sides of an issue. I think that's what's missing here, is that I want to talk to people on both sides of an issue, not just political parties, to try to learn what I can and make some decisions based on the people of Alabama. So, everybody's going to say that, but I've made it clear to everybody in this campaign. I'm going to continue to make it clear that the people of Alabama hope that I do the right thing by voting in their best interest. Yes, sir.
Another hit on Alabama during this election. A lot of people were thinking that folks just wouldn't come out to the polls and vote. After last night, what message would you give to the people of Alabama and maybe encourage everyone that voting is your right and should take part?
Yeah, look, I think you just answered your own question there. Elections have consequences. We've been getting that message out for the last 5 or 6 months since we've been involved in this campaign. And it's not just in a bitter way. I don't mean it that way. Some people are going to be upset and they're thinking, oh my gosh, my candidate didn't win. I should have gotten more people to the polls. But the fact of the matter is that is one of the most sacred rights that we have in this country. And there are people in this state in particular who lost their lives trying to get that right to vote. So you don't have to count jelly beans in order to get that right to vote. So you don't have to pay a tax in order to get that right to vote. So it's important that I think that, and I would like to see there be some effort to get more people registered, to make it easier to vote in this state. We have a period other than absentee ballots here in this state, which are fairly cumbersome to do. I'd like to make it easier for people to exercise their right to vote. And I think we can do that over the course of time. But it's going to take, in order to do that, it's going to take people putting aside, how is this vote going to affect this political party or that political party? We need to be thinking about the right to vote for everyone and not just how it will enrich one party or another because that is so fundamental to everyone in this country. Back to you. I'm going to take the fifth on that one, I think. Let me just say this. This was, last night was probably the best anniversary present anybody could have. We had, when we were married, probably the best wedding party that I have ever been to. But it didn't come close to the wedding, to the anniversary party that we had last night with about 2,000 of our closest friends. So, thank you. Yes, sir? I'm going to just let Senator Booker and other senators make that judgment right now. I've been focused so much on the state of Alabama. I'm not going to go there on this right now. I thank President Trump for his call today, and I look forward, if he's putting forth things that help the state of Alabama, for me to work with him, and then I'll talk to him. I'll talk to him as I can only talk to him if those issues don't affect the state. Yes, sir. We'll go back to you again. All right, we're starting to recycle here, folks. So, yeah.
You campaigned with Randall Whitman, the new mayor of
Yeah.
You see, he just won, and that was seen as a very progressive move. Do you see a sort of demographic shift in the way Alabama voters vote?
Well, I'm not sure I would say it's a Democratic shift in Alabama voters. Birmingham, the city of Birmingham, is a lot different than the entire state of Alabama. What I see, though, is that the campaign that Randall ran was also one of trying to be inclusive, and he was trying to reach out to people across the city. It was the same kind of campaign that we have done. I think Randall had approached this from the standpoint of let's try to find that common ground so that we can move the city forward. So it's the way you approach the issues, I think, more than the result that you're seeking in those issues, that we had so much in common. I'm really looking forward to being a partner with him. He did a wonderful job with our campaign and some of his former staff that came to work for us. I think it's going to be a wonderful partner. And I know most of the city council that is on the new city council that's in Birmingham now. And I've talked to them. I think it's going to be a great partnership throughout the state with the local officials. I've received a number of calls from around the state as well. All right. Okay, we'll come back to where we started. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
A lot of people have been comparing your victory to what happened in Virginia last month. Do you see something building ahead of 2018?
Well, I think what's building is this. Frankly, I just think what's building is that people do want to get away from the just vitriolic political campaigning. And that doesn't mean you can't talk about records. You can't be hard-hitting on certain things. You don't talk about the differences in your styles and your differences in the issues. But I think people want to get away from that. They don't want divisiveness. They want people to be treated with dignity, with respect. I think that was a message out of